Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner, place where we talk about anything and everything that is geek, whether it be movies, TV, comics, or video games. And this week, I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna discuss where everybody's been talking about. Discussing. Everybody with Man of Steel coming out. There's going to be they wanting so bad that it'll be a Justice League movie, and with Justice League movie, there's also coming rumors of a Batman reboot, and everybody's been finding that out after Christian Bale said he won't go do Batman again, and with the Dark Knight trilogy done and everything. They said they were going to once again reboot Batman, possibly for a 2015-2016 release. And while they're looking for Batman and everything, I've been thinking about it, and there are a few things that I think, and I've come up with a list of a few things they should and shouldn't do for a revamped Batman possible trilogy, or at least one movie. And I said just a few things. I mean, with Batman, with the Dark Knight trilogy, they did about everything. They did a thorough origin story. They did a thorough origin story, and they redid the Joker. And while that was all good, there is a new. I said they're going with them rebooting all over again. They're going to start everything over again. And I've just come up with a few things I think they ought to do to make it. They should definitely do, and a few things they should definitely not do in a new Batman movie reboot. And one of the things I think they should do is bring in some new villains. I mean, they should definitely bring in some new villains. I mean, Batman's rogues gallery is miles long. I mean, it goes around the block, and I said there's so many recognizable villains that they could use. I mean, you got like Poison Ivy. It was done. She was done in Batman and Robin, but I think everybody chooses not to remember that because of how bad it was. And they should definitely give her a more darker, more serious tone that she deserves. I mean, she's supposed to be a seductress. Why don't you make her? I mean, she was kind of that way in Batman and Robin, but campy. I think she should be a really dark seductress, like she should be. I mean, she ain't really been given her due. Maybe in animation, but not in live action. And I think they should really consider giving her her due. It would be great to do that and Mr. Freeze. I mean, Mr. Freeze is another one that got camped up to death in Batman and Robin. And I think if they really do it right, they could have themselves a dark villain. A really good dark villain for Batman. I mean, it'd be great. I mean, it'd be great to see a dark Mr. Freeze. I mean, they darkened him a little bit, but it was still too campy in Batman and Robin. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in that movie you want to forget about, but still. And I mean, if they really did it right, they would have, just like with Poison Ivy, they'd have a really good villain on their hands. A really good, dark, scary villain on their hands. And another one they've used, it was kind of campy, the Riddler. I mean, everybody remembers Frank Gorshin, everybody remembers Jim Carrey, but they should really do it more like with Batman animated series, the way they did Edward Nygma in that series. I mean, it would be so great to see a real cerebral supervillain for Batman to not only have to instead of having to outpunch him, you have to outthink him, and that would be really great to see on screen. And that would be so. It would be so great to actually have a thinking and a more of a cerebral, suspense Batman movie and just duke it out. I mean, you gotta have your action in it too. I mean, it's a Batman movie. You gotta have Batman pounding on the villain sooner or later, but you gotta make you think too. And that kind of leads me to my next point of what they should do to Batman in the next Batman movie. They should make Batman more of a detective, make him more think. I mean, it's great. It was great in Dark Knight Rises that you got in Dark Knight Rises and the other Dark Knight, the Chris Nolan Batman movies, that you actually got to see him duke it out with a villain, and it won't like stylized, campy or anything. I mean, it's just gritty, ground and pound attack. Batman. I mean, it was good to see a Batman that could really stand his ground and it not be like fancy karate moves or anything. It's just beat the snot out of the villain. But it'd be great to see Batman is called the Dark Knight Detective and the world's greatest detective for a reason. And he should probably, if they ever did one like the Riddler or anything, they should really consider having him be like it can show him to be like the world's greatest detective. I mean, you see all these cop shows nowadays. They've got forensics and stuff like that. Why don't you show him doing that? Why don't they show him doing that and show that he is truly the world's greatest detective? And like I said, if they had one like with Riddler in it, where you had to outthink him, you got to have him be a good detective in order to outthink him. So they ought to do that. And like I said, I think that would be awesome if they did that. Show more aspects of Batman other than just fists. That he has a great brain to go along with his great fighting skills too. And I think that would be awesome. And another thing I think they should consider, and I know a lot of folks probably frown on this, they should maybe think about in a future movie introducing Robin. And I don't mean right away. I mean, not in the Batman reboot. That's not a good way to start a reboot, him getting a sidekick. No. I'm thinking about maybe if they have like a third, if they do another Batman trilogy. That would be great. I mean, to all of a sudden go to about the third movie, maybe do about 2 movies, and then for a third movie, introduce Robin. And when they introduce Robin, I don't mean introduce a college student, a college-age Dick Grayson who should already be thinking about being Nightwing and spreading his wings and going out on his own. They shouldn't do that. They should do a young kid. I mean, think about that. I said the movie Kick-Ass. You saw how young Hit Girl was. She was like 10, 12 years old. They should think about, I said, when it comes to Robin, they should really think, if they could do that in that movie, they should do Robin like that. Maybe about 10, 12 years old. And he uses acrobatics and stuff to be his sidekick. Maybe bail him out at the end of the movie or something. I mean, they should really think about doing that. And I mean, like I said, it's kind of a split decision. Some think they should keep Robin out of Batman, and some think they should bring him in. I mean, they did it in a creative way, bring him in Dark Knight Rises. But they should really think about bringing in the real Robin. Not in a campy way, and not camp it up like Joel Schumacher did. I mean, they should really think about doing an honest-to-goodness version of Robin. And as I said, maybe they'll eventually lead to spinoffs. Ain't no telling. You never know when it may end up having like if they may make a Batman 4 or 5 out of that trilogy, maybe expand it into a quadrilogy or quintilogy or something like that, and you end up having like bringing in Batgirl or something, or maybe have an entire Bat family show up. You don't ever know. You don't ever know what you get. But like I said, the most famous one being Robin, they should really think about bringing him in and doing it right. If they bring him in, they need to do it right and do him justice as a little kid how he started. And I said, if they do that, they might actually be, and they actually do it right, Robin may be likable. You don't ever know. And I know some people think they should do that, and they should not do that. I mean, well, hey, you've done got 3 Batman movies where they didn't bring Robin into it, technical Robin into it. But like I said, I think there's a lot of other things that they really shouldn't do with this Batman movie that they've already done. And one of those things is not do an origin story over again. I mean, Batman Begins, to me, had the quintessential origin story. I mean, you can't get better than that and more thorough than that. I mean, you can't do that over again. I mean, it'd be fine it would be fine and maybe show bits and pieces of his origins. And I said maybe show bits and pieces of his origin, like here, like he has a flashback here, flashback there, to establish where he's come from. But they really shouldn't go into detail like they did before. I mean, you can't get much better than Batman Begins. I mean, and you do this, everybody knows the origin story by now. You don't need to rehash it. And so they really wanted to do something to bring up the origins. Just have it be like a flashback that haunts him once in a while. That keeps him going why he's being Batman. You know, and they should really think about doing that. They should really. But as an in-depth origin story, don't have that again. They shouldn't have that again. And definitely another thing, and I'm very passionate about this, that they shouldn't have in the movie, is the Joker. I mean, you've heard me bash the Joker on previous episodes of this show and everything, how he's overrated, overused, overdone, and I'm still maintain that. I mean, you ain't going to get much wilder and crazier and insane than Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker. I mean, that's near about quintessential Joker right there. You can't get much, like I say, you can't get much darker than that unless you get into the realm of what the New 52 is doing, in which he's got his face essentially stapled back onto his head, and he's about halfway sick and depraved. I mean, you can't. That's about how dark you can get with a Joker, but still, and without turning Batman into an R-rated movie. I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker about as dark as you get without turning it into an R-rated movie like the New 52 is. I mean, they don't need to do the Joker again. It's like putting Lex Luthor into. It's like overdoing Lex Luthor in Superman. You don't need to overdo. You don't need to have Superman, Lex Luthor in every Superman movie. You don't have to have Joker every time you do Batman. I'm just saying. They say you don't need to have Joker all the time. He ain't the quintessential Batman villain, though a lot of folks say that. He's not. To me, he's not. And there's a whole lot, like to reiterate my first point of what they should have, there's a whole lot more bigger pantheon of villains out there. If anything, redo Bane again. I mean, Bane was good in Dark Knight Rises, but it'd be great to see him in his comic book form. It'd be great to see in the comic book version of him with the pipe sticking out of his head and the wrist thing where it turns up the venom and turns him about something about the size of the Incredible Hulk. And actually show him to be a threat. But like I said, but they don't need to do Joker every time they do Batman. They really don't need to do that. And same goes with Catwoman. They don't need to do her again either unless they really want to do a true blue comic book version of her. I mean, it goes along with what I saw on a video the other day from somebody from the Angie Viper page of why she thought Dark Knight Rises sucked is because of their portrayal of Catwoman, that it was an affront to what the comic book version was. And if they ever did Catwoman again, maybe that's the route they should go. A true blue comic book version of Catwoman. But otherwise, I don't think they should do her again. I mean, they've done her twice. They've done her twice in two different movie sets. And I think they should give Catwoman a break too. And if they ever did do her again, just do a more straight to comic version of her. But let's just say I'd be more open to seeing Catwoman come back than the Joker. Joker's done. They should just leave it at that. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do with yet another Batman reboot. Ain't no telling how long it'll take for this one to come out. I mean, it took 7 years between Batman Begins and between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins, only because Batman and Robin essentially destroyed the franchise at that point, and that brought it back. And Batman Begins essentially, it took 7 years for Batman Begins to bring it back. And I said, with Batman Begins already, with the Dark Knight trilogy already firmly getting Batman back in action again, this reboot probably should be done in no time. And like I said, if they do those few things, I think it'd be a great. Do those few shoulds and shouldn'ts, of what they should have and shouldn't have in the movie, I think it would turn out fine. And as for if they even think about doing a new trilogy, I guess that's about probably a wait and see thing if they did that. And as for I think a new Batman movie would be a great catapult for getting Justice League started. I mean, Man of Steel's already done that, but you get a new Batman movie started, this might actually get things churning for Justice League, which I would love to see. But as for Batman, that should be interesting to see how they do it. And what do y'all think about this? Do you do you agree with any of my points, or do you disagree, or what do you think they should do with a Batman reboot? Should they do it? I said, should they bring in another Joker? Should they not? Should they bring in somebody new to firm the face? Should Batman look maybe a little bit, suit maybe look a little bit different in a suit of armor? I said, let me know. Drop me a comment box. I'd love to hear from you. And I guess that's it for this week's Mr. J's Geek Corner. I say, if you have any just have any comments or suggestions or anything you'd love to hear me talk about, drop me a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear from you. I'm always looking for fresh new ideas of things to talk about. I'm always open to new ideas. I said, just let me know. I said, if you had, I'm always looking for new things to talk about. And I said, I'd love to hear from y'all. And I'll see y'all next time.